The house that whispers back. It started with the rain. Not a storm, not thunder or wind. Just the slow, steady kind of rain that drips from the corners of forgotten rooftops. The kind that sounds like whispers if you lie still long enough. I hadn't even been back in Harrow's End for a full day when the house began to remember me. Or maybe it had never forgotten. It belonged to my grandfather, a man everyone in town either revered or feared. I remembered little about him, just the way he used to hum that lullaby, the same one I heard echoing down the upstairs hallway the night I returned. I stood in the foyer, soaked from the walk from town. The air was dense, thick with the scent of mildew and old secrets. The hardwood groaned beneath my boots, like the house was sighing in resignation. I paused. A door creaked open upstairs, slow and steady. Nobody else was supposed to be here. Set my bag down and followed the sound up the stairs, the banister still cold and damp to the touch. The light bulbs flickered, even though the electricity had been off for years. That should have bothered me more than it did. I passed the nursery. The door half ajar, wallpaper peeling like old skin. Inside, a mobile of paper moons still spun slowly. No draft, no fan, no reason. I stepped back. The hum returned, low, familiar, almost maternal. The lullaby. I should have left then, but I didn't. The next morning, the house felt warmer, alive. The kitchen still reeked of rusted pipes and dust. But the stove was clean. I didn't clean it. I hadn't unpacked anything. But my favorite mug, the blue one with the chipped rim, sat on the table filled with warm tea. I told myself it had always been here, that I just didn't remember. People do that, right? Forget things. Remember them wrong. Misplace reality and substitute memory. I spent the day wandering the hallways, feeling a constant weight on my back, like I was being watched. I kept catching my reflection in mirrors I didn't recognize. Dirty, tall, narrow things that reflected just a fraction off, like I was slightly too slow for my own shadow. By sunset, I'd convinced myself I was just tired. Jet lag, memories, the weight of returning home. Or maybe not home, just the closest thing to it I had left. But that night I heard it again. The lullaby. And this time, someone sang along, a soft voice no more than a breath over the sound of the rain. It came from the nursery again. I stepped inside, heart thumping, eyes fixed on the crib I hadn't noticed the night before. Something moved in it, not fast, just a slow shift. I turned on the flashlight. The crib was empty, but the mobile spun faster now. The walls seemed closer, and the air heavier. It felt like the room exhaled around me. On the third day, my thoughts began splitting. I caught myself doubting basic things, like whether I'd eaten that morning or just dreamed I had. I would write notes to myself, then find them crumpled and burned in the fireplace. One note said, "Don't believe the tea." Another said, "Check behind the nursery mirror." Behind the mirror was an old crawl space, dusty, cramped, filled with antique toys, and the sharp scent of lavender and rot. There was a blanket draped in the corner, like someone had been sleeping there. A music box rested on top. I didn't open it. I should have. The fourth day dissolved. I wasn't sure I'd ever left the house. The phone no longer worked. My texts never delivered. I heard voices in the hallways, murmuring behind closed doors. They stopped when I pressed my ear to them. I started talking to the house. It sounds insane. Sounds like madness, even as I say it. But it felt polite, like it was listening, and maybe expecting. One afternoon I found a journal tucked beneath the floorboards in the study. My grandfather's. inside, pages and pages of the same sentence. She lives in the lullaby. The words burrowed into me like splinters. I read them over and over. Sometimes they rearranged themselves. Sometimes they weren't there at all. One time I opened the journal and found a photograph of myself standing in the hallway. I hadn't taken it. My hair was shorter. I looked tired, worn thin, like I'd been here much longer than I thought. The house became a rhythm. The rain, the whispers, the creaking, the song, the dream I couldn't wake from. I stopped sleeping. Or maybe I slept constantly. Time blurred. I'd wake up in different rooms. Once I woke in the attic with a candle burning beside me and a child's shoe in my lap. It wasn't new. It wasn't mine. It had the name Thomas scrawled in faded ink inside the sole. It didn't fit me. I don't know why I tried it on. Sometimes I caught myself humming the lullaby without meaning to. The words didn't exist, but I knew them. Or maybe they knew me. I dreamed of a woman with glassy eyes and a stitched mouth. She whispered through the seams. She knew my name. She told me I used to live here, that I'd never left, that I had a brother, that I put him in the crib. On what I thought was the last night, the house spoke clearly. I mean that. Every floorboard moaned in a language I almost understood. Every window drummed the rain in perfect rhythm with my pulse. The mirrors no longer showed my reflection. They showed the boy, the one in the crib. He had my eyes, and he was mouthing the lullaby. I ran. I made it to the foyer before the door slammed on its own. I pulled, pushed, nothing. Then the house whispered my name, and I whispered back, because I remembered I was never the visitor. I was the lullaby, and the song never ends.